Hello, folks. It's Jason Heath, Contrabass Conversations with the last solo show of March. I've been having fun doing these. Hopefully you've been having fun. I'm getting a little loopy here. This is the third one I've recorded tonight. The others I did just one a night, which was a lot of fun, but I'm on my second hour of talking straight. I wonder what the neighbors think. They probably can't hear me, but maybe they can. Anyway, this is going to be a shorter one, both because I am burned out and because I just have less to yammer about. So I just want to give a shout out. Thank you so much to the folks that sponsor this podcast. I'm honored that these are some of my favorite people in the music industry, and I've been following them way before they started sponsoring the podcast. But I got to give a shout out to Upton Bass, Gary, Eric, the whole team there. You guys rock. Thank you. Over 10 years of support. What? Amazing. Steve Swan, string bass, right here in the Bay Area. You know, I talk about Steve with a student almost every day. I was just talking with one of my private students who left. Steve had set her up with a German bow just to experiment, and she was playing. And then I was chatting with her dad about some Steve's just whole perspective on the business. And, you know, Steve's been freelancing. He's done so many things over the years and just paths in the music world. So great to have him on board as well. And here in the Bay Area, Barry Kolstein, what can I say? One of the legends of the bass world, of the music world. I felt so grateful and honored to be hanging out at the Kolstein shop this past fall when we went out to visit. So thank you, Barry. We sat down for another interview. D'Addario Strings, they took a chance on this goofy guy with a podcast and have been supporting it basically since I relaunched it. And they're such a forward-thinking company in that way. They do so much for the bass community, and their strings rock. I got their Kaplans on my bass right now. Totally love them. The Bass Violin Shop. I am going to be headed down to North Carolina, hopefully within the next 8 to 9 months, and I am going to the Bass Violin Shop. They got started just a little after 2000, and what a great operation. Just a fantastic team. They'll set you up. They are the Southeast's place to be for sure. So thank you to all of you for supporting the show, and thank you for listening, by the way. And what we're talking about today is tied into what we just did, which was about Modacity and forScore. I'm talking about some of the other apps that I use, that I have used, and that I use almost every day. So I use a lot of apps. I'm an app fanatic, like maybe many of you are. But there are some apps that I use at least once a week. Now, forScore and Modacity, I use literally every day. And forScore, actually both of them, I have them open for at least an hour. forScore, geez, I think I have it out open for multiple hours a day for teaching, for practicing and everything. Modacity, very similar. These apps, maybe not quite to that degree, but I love them. Let's start with Tonal Energy. Tonal Energy, I love that app. It was invented by a band director in Texas, and it just rocks. It's such a useful app. It has this amazingly cool visualization of sound and pitch, and I don't even know how to describe it. That's why you can check it out, because it's available for iOS and Android, and just such a useful app. I use it to tune. The interface is one of those interfaces that I can see students lock onto it. They find it really interesting. And so they use that. It does everything. It can drone in just intonation. It can drone in equal tempered intonation. It can show you all this amazing harmonic information. Aaron Olguin, a fabulous bass player, principal bass of the Trondheim Philharmonic now, and he's going to be the opening classical recital at the International Society of Bassists convention here in 2019 in Bloomington, Indiana. You should be there. I'll be there. It's going to be awesome. And Aaron uses this app, and he opened it up and he started showing me all this stuff. I had no idea even what he was showing me. Totally amazing app. Love it, love it, love it. I use it all the time. I use it to tune myself. I use it to tune every single group I work with. One thing I really love about it is it's loud. You can hear that thing over, maybe not over a full orchestra or band, but certainly loud enough to be used in a lesson or a chamber group, no problem whatsoever. And of course, hook it into a sound system and it'll be as loud as you want it to be. But even on its own, on the phone or on the iPad, it cranks out some great sound. You can drone multiple intervals at the same time and all kinds of stuff. It's great. An app that Alan Tinkham, the conductor for the Chicago Youth Symphony, also a bass player, by the way, and super cool dude, great guy to hang out with, lots of fun, Alan, and brilliant guy. Alan let me know about this app called AudioNote. This app's so cool. You can record, I think it was probably made for lectures or that sort of thing, but you can record this and then you can type notes. And as you're typing, it's time stamping what you're typing to the audio. So when you listen back, why would you do that? You may ask. Well, let's say you were listening to seating auditions. You could type the student's name as it came in. You could type some comments, that sort of thing. I use it when students are getting ready for auditions. I just listen. I'm just typing some notes for them. Then you can click on a word and it will jump to when you typed that word. So you can find something really specific and listen to it with a student. And for playing seating auditions, how great is that? If you want to A-B between two people when they play Mozart, it's just a really quick and dirty way to do it. Alan uses it for seating auditions for Chicago Youth Symphony. And then you can export it out. You can export the audio. You can export the notes as a PDF with the timestamp on it. Extremely useful. Then we have Sight Reading Machine. iOS only. Sorry. But I have an iPad, so yay. It's the best tool I've found for actually generating sight reading material. And I use it with students as they're getting ready for an audition. And we start out really simple. Quarter notes and half notes, folks. And you can limit the interval. I can have it be like between like an E on the D string and a B on the G string or something like that. Just very, very simple. And then we just add a variable. We add eighth notes. We add a sharp. You can add dynamics, articulations. You can expand the interval. You can expand the range. You can get very complicated if you want. And it just generates new information. And when someone's getting ready for an audition, we'll run through 4 or 5, at least, randomly generated sight reading exercises. And it's just such a useful thing. A few minutes every lesson has definitely helped my students. I think conquer it's hard to practice, right? Practicing sight reading. Practicing scales obviously helps, but I have found this app to be remarkably useful. I've used it for years and years, and it's great. Another Alan Tinkham recommendation, Metronomics, which is a really cool app. It has all kinds of subdivisions and that sort of thing that you can do, and you can have a bar where it plays, a bar of silence. You can then set the probability of certain things firing. So you can say, I'll make the 16th notes might come on 50% of the time. So it's making a sort of drummer-esque pattern and not consistent pattern through the whole thing. Does that kind of make sense? Anyway, it's very useful for practicing. I love it. It's loud also, a practical perhaps, but very important thing so that I can actually use it in a lesson or in a chamber rehearsal. And I think it's great. iPad, iOS, I think it's for Android too. I'm pretty sure. Well, let me click here. Let's see. If I click on Metronomics, it is iOS. Sorry, Android. Anyway, but it's good if you have iOS. It's great. AnyTune Pro, which is, I'm going to check right now. Is this iOS only? I need to expand my, iOS only. I feel like such a loser, just all iOS. But anyway, download on the App Store. You can also get it for Mac. It is available. I haven't said what this app is. Geez, I'm getting tired. Okay, no, never mind. I guess I'll leave this in. Why not? Who cares? It's been a long night. AnyTune is available for Windows, Android, Mac, and iOS. AnyTune, music practice perfected. This thing, it's kind of like the Amazing Slowdowner. If you remember that app, anybody who's taken orchestra auditions has probably goofed around with this, but it has an algorithm that allows you to very, very, very realistically keep the integrity of the sound as you slow something down or as you change pitch. And you can create all these cool bookmarks and loops so you can actually have your group, your student, whatever, practice bits over and over, slowly, faster. They can hear the whole orchestra. or whatever you're using in terms of that. The interface is really friendly. It allows you to leap around between different pieces and sections of pieces very organically, especially if you do a little pre-planning before the lesson. Love it. I've used it for years. AnyTune, and hey, it's available on everything. So check it out. It's definitely worth the $14 or whatever it is. I'm amazed how cheap. It's funny how, I'm the same way, but like if I see something that's $14.99, I think like $14.99, what a ripoff. And then I think back to like 1991 when I buy like a $75, computer game or something like that, for my PC. And it's just amazing, the app ecosystem and how cheap these things are, really, right? I mean, it's a problem for developers because that's just the way things are. People just will not accept high prices. So anyway, it's a problem that's actually extremely cheap, right? $14.99. So those things I use all the time. And then I do a lot of iPad music production. And I'm not going to go into great detail on this because probably most of you are not making beats on your iPad, but I am. And some of my favorite apps, and I also will use these in teaching, though not as often as the ones I just read through. Some of the iPad music production apps I regularly use. I love Korg's Gadget. It's so fun. If you want a metronome substitute, get Gadget. I was working with this quartet, just a bunch of sweet 8th graders yesterday. And I was just in a mood. I'd just been doing too much of this coaching recently. And I was goofing around with them. And they were just so, they were the shy, introverted, kind of awkward group. And I was just trying anything to loosen it up. So I got out Gadget. I put on the most preposterous beat possible for the entertainer. They're playing the entertainer. I've like some house beat. And then I'm moving through all these different sounds and playing through. And you know what? It actually did help them. They did play better in rhythm. And there's something, if you ever noticed, my private students are usually too polite for this, but in ensembles, I would turn on a metronome. I'd see the students go, metronome. I'd turn on a kick drum and they go, yes, oh yeah, party. And it's funny, a kick drum at 120 is a metronome, right? But there's something about the timbre that people like. So I've used Gadget for years and years just to, in rehearsals, just to kind of mix it up. Cubasis. I have not used that in a school setting, but it's Cubase, but on the iPad, it rocks. It's a full-featured DAW. It's just a monster, and I use it for making beats and stuff like that. AudioBus, if you want to get deep into audio on the iPad and really just embrace that and play around with it. I'm not going to go into detail because it's far too complex, and I wouldn't even know how to describe it, but it's this amazing environment that wires everything together in this beautiful way. Ableton Link does a similar thing, but Cubasis and Ableton Link work together. So you can use all these different apps, these very specialized apps, and wire them together to make, and then you can pump them all into Cubasis in all sorts of different ways. It's amazing times we live in terms of making music. Oh, God, I love it. The Novation Launchpad app is very cool. And along with that, Blocs Wave is another app that I use quite a bit. TouchAble is an Ableton Live iPad interface. Very interesting. I've been using it for years. I've always found it to be a little bit, it always seems to fail me when I actually need it. So there's that, but it's very cool. And then I use the app Notion for writing music on the iPad. I do not use it. It's not a Finale substitute. I use Finale when I'm actually like getting work done. But when I'm on the train, I'm at school, I want to get an idea started. Notion is awesome. And Notion has this thing I've used. It's got this handwriting recognition mode. And I use that as a magic of technology demonstration all the time. So cool. Such a great app. I don't remember what it cost. Cheap. I remember it was not much. And those are some apps I use on a daily basis. I have like 36 synthesizer apps I will not list, but I love it. I have such a great time on the iPad. I really want to get the new iPad Pro with the no bezel, but I just bought this one and I cannot justify to my wife buying all that new stuff. But I will one of these days. Those are apps I use that make my life better as a teacher, as a performer, as a teacher in multiple capacities, as a musician. And it's kind of like the equivalent of playing video games for me. I sit down at night or in the morning on a weekend and I just make sounds. I make music happen on all those iPad music production apps. I love it so much. I love you for listening to these episodes. This was 6 of 6 for solo shows. Wow. Don't know if I'll ever do this again. It's a lot of talking. But it's fun to get some of these ideas out there, especially things I've been working on in clinic form that I just haven't tried to do or expressed to you or done in audio form like that. So hopefully at least some of this was interesting. We'll be back with guests next week. I'm sure you will enjoy that. I enjoyed spending this time with you. If you want to reach out to me, feedback at contrabassconversations.com or visit us on wherever you hang out online, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Sign up for our email list. We have many thousands of bass players on that list, and it's a great way to stay connected, and we email out all sorts of giveaways and events and behind-the-scenes stuff, how the sausage is made. So if you want to get in on that, join our Facebook group. I'm amazed at that Facebook group, contrabassconversations.community, or not .community, Contrabass Conversations community. You can go to contrabassconversations.com/community, or just go to Facebook and search for us there. And we have so many interesting threads going. Every day I'll see 50, 60 comments and something that comes by. I use it to crowdsource ideas for all kinds of things. And it's just another way to get behind the scenes and continue the conversation, like I like to say. Thank you to the team who is working on all of these episodes to make them happen and bring them to you. Podcasts are more complicated than you might think. So thank you to Steve Hinchy, Michael Cooper, Trevor Jones, Mitch Mooring, and Krista Copper for all their hard work. Can't thank you enough. I'm your host, Jason Heath, and we will see you again soon for a more traditional episode with someone that is not me next week with more life on the low end of the spectrum.